How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to Mamiya. Now, I think we're pretty much in the end game now. I was given a choice to follow one of the four, kind of newer people that were somehow involved with Mamiya directly, and we're following their story, and so I decided to go with the girl. I don't know. I just picked her, okay? She's interesting. But yeah, so we kind of got that started last week because we believe this might be part of the key to figuring out what Mamiya is all about, and maybe being able to hard counter him, because currently we know it's possible for the four characters that we followed to find an ending that doesn't just end in their death. So we know it's reasonably possible. So now we're trying to figure out exactly what we can do to perhaps make that a reality by maybe taking Mamiya out of the equation. I don't know. We'll have to see. We also learned, however, it was kind of subtle, but Mamiya knows exactly what he is. Called him a spectator. Nuts to me. So Mamiya, if he isn't a spectator or a former spectator himself, I would be surprised. So, yeah. Now we're back at the apartment with the four people who are living together, who all have nothing in common except for the fact that they all knew who Mamiya was. So, let's just jump right into it. Just try and stay up and say that again. I know you're a bird brace. I'll repeat it as much as you want. Or is it your ears that don't work? I'm home. Seems pretty heated in here. Should we put the vases in a safe spot? I already did. Might as well hide the TV too. They used it as a weapon last time. What caused this particular fight anyway? They're punching each other over their outlooks on life. Now that's something. It's just front, though. They wanted to know something about Mia. They're such idiots. I'll go stop them. Cleaning up a broken TV would be a pain. Hey, you two. Huh? What do you want, Bach? Don't you have to try and stop us. I must fix this person's line of thinking once and for all. Stop acting like children. It's not like your lives matter to the other, is it? Huh? The two stopped in place. It does. Of course the stuff we all experienced matters to us. All of us. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? Don't pull Toma into your petty little fight. Oh, you two still haven't figured out the meaning behind this place? What? What about you? Huh? Yeah, you struck-up schoolboy. What about you? What kind of life did you lead? And how did you end up meeting Mamiya? Say it. You act normal most of the time, but we're all birds of a feather here. That's the kind of place this house is supposed to be. That's true. Stop it. Arisagawa, this isn't the time. I'm actually quite curious myself. Samajima. And I'm certain you feel the same. Samajima's gaze made Nigaki look away. Indeed, she had always wanted to know. Think about your life and your relationship to Mamiya. What do we have in common, and what are our differences? You don't have to say it, Toma. You don't have to say a word about our lives. It has nothing to do with Mamiya's coming back. Once Mamiya comes back, we won't have to live like this anymore. We'll be able to finally leave this awful place. Huh. Man, kids these days are a bunch of limp dicks. Aren't you ashamed of having to hide behind a woman? Arisagawa? You don't have to say anything, yet. We'll have you talk eventually, though. And man, will you talk. Hell, we're gonna be needing an index. I'll talk, too. So will this guy and Nigaki. Everyone here. We'll have it all remember the meeting, the reason why we're here. Make sure to polish up your Ori skills if it goes nice and smooth, alright? Interesting. So there's something, an undercurrent that they all share, and they're all, kind of afraid to say it. Sometimes things went well, and others they didn't. Though various exchanges, they seemed to be drawing close. But then things began to crack. Every now and then they realized that Mamiya was no longer with them. The realization would dawn on them while they listened to music, while they talked to classmates, while they ate breakfast. Right, Mamiya. Samajima turned around, but there was no one there. I'm sorry, Time for food! Get the sauce! Are you seriously adding even more sauce? You'll get diabetes. Today's sunny side up fried eggs for twins. Something so good this might happen. Maybe. Perhaps our days will become sunnier too. They resumed eating as if that previous exchange hadn't even happened. They had all repeatedly experienced what Samajima did just then, and every time they were struck with worry. What if Mamiya had never existed to begin with? However, admitting that would make them lose the one place they could call home. The four merely continued eating. What a twisted, unusual way to live together. It's bound to fall apart any second now, but they act like they don't even realize it. Under these circumstances, it's only a matter of time until things go wrong and they start breaking down. Even now, things seem to be at a boiling point. They were surrounded by a thin sheet of ice and it was covered in cracks. Even so, they continued to dance without realizing it. What gives Mamiya the power to tie them all together like this? Like, it's like they're obsessed with Mamiya. Like, I understand the other four people we followed in the story. Like, they were, in their own way, bonded and obsessed with Mamiya, but only to the point where they kind of, like, gave heed to Mamiya. These people, after Mamiya supposedly left them, have thrown their entire lives into chaos and effectively rearranged their own living conditions just to be around other people who also knew of Mamiya. Like, it's almost like they're just desperate to have support, like that to know that it was real. And apparently it's worth living in terrible condition like that. It's so bizarre. The one who stood on those cracks the most was him. I can't take this. The echo of Toma's voice filled the post-dinner living room. It was a rending voice that no one heard him use before. Nigaki, Arisugawa, and Samajima were all at a loss for words. I'm saying I've had enough of this way of life. Our opinions, our rhythms, nothing matches up. It's all dissonance. Mamiya doesn't even exist. The words that escaped his trembling lips stung like a knife to the gut. Only the ticking of the clock broke the ominous silence. No one said a thing. There wasn't anything to warm up the frozen atmosphere. Their minds went blank. None of them knew what to say, or what was even right. They didn't know what to do with their experiences. They didn't even have a firm sense of presence. Mamiya existed? If Mamiya doesn't exist, then what the hell have I been doing until now? You're right. Mamiya does exist. If he didn't, then that would mean I've always been alone. That the only person I've ever opened up to didn't even exist. No, I couldn't take that. Why would you even say something like that at this point? It was simple. We merely had to acknowledge and believe in Mamiya. And since we're here, it was Mamiya, so was Mamiya. That would make it impossible for the others to prove that he didn't exist. It's a potent alibi. If the four of us with our shattered experiences don't doubt it, we can keep the shared illusion stable. You're the one who said we should decide on a set of rules. Okay. So maybe the problem here is Mamiya did essentially what Natsume's doing. He started to interfere in people's lives, became really important to them, and then suddenly just left when he'd saved them, or whatever. I just bumped the microphone. But when he'd saved them, he just left, and it broke them because the individual Mamiya, who was a spectator who interfered, became an intrinsic part of their lives. Just like Natsume, when he went back and tried to save those he cared about. He inadvertently inserted himself in their lives and became a very big part of them surviving, being the person who kind of replaced Mamiya. But then Natsume just vanished. Would it shatter their lives too, losing a second Natsumi? Would they start to wonder if he was real when they start trying to investigate and nobody else knows who he was? That he doesn't even exist? And that the person who lived at the apartment that he supposedly stayed at wasn't really on records? Because that's the thing, is like, he was given like a assumed kind of NPC-like body when he goes down there. So, yeah. Uh-oh. This proves an interesting question. And now I'm telling you, it's become so twisted that we're finally hitting the boiling point. Don't you see the cracks spreading around us? We can't keep this illusion up anymore. You're all aware of it, aren't you? We were all passionate at the start, and the shock of Mamiya's disappearance allowed us to glean happiness from the fact that we found each other. But that passion soon waned over time, and the opinions from other surroundings began to worm their way into our ears. We began to realize the difference between us and society. Hey, has anyone beside us ever acknowledged Mamiya? No one even tried to search for such a person. It's almost like he never existed. Like he's been cut off from the rest of the world. You've experienced it, haven't you? Toma threw a sharp glance at Nigaki, Arisugawa, making both of them clam up. Indeed, they had experienced this before. Even though they looked around. I did experience it. I asked around, but I knew Mamiya. But if Mamiya never existed, then what are our memories? And the present that was built on them? I just need someone, anyone, to prove to me that Mamiya existed. To prove to me that I was right.
Wasn't this whole place established for that purpose? And now you're saying that can't go on anymore? Bach's right. We've already come to realize it.
So, what now? You say we're just gonna forget all about Mamiya? I could never do that. The memories I've made with Mamiya are already a part of my life. Yet you're saying we should just give them up? Since we're unable to keep the lie that Mamiya existed? We should just admit that the person was fictional all along? If we do that, we would just... Then what do you think we should do? How can we put a period at the end of this reality? We should just end it all once for all. We should put an end to this twisted way of living together and stop searching for Mamiya's presence. The time has come to wake up from our dream. It's time to face reality head on. The reality that we're just mentally ill. We're isolated from society, and we are the ones in the wrong. You saying that we're wrong? I already know that. I know that, but if we break down, if we play along with society, then what will become of our Mamiya? An entire person would literally disappear in the strictest sense of the word, and no one would be the wiser. You like me the way I am now, don't you? Oh, don't make a face like that. I'm sorry, Satoru. The feeling Mamiya gave us all are more real. Mayuri, don't force yourself. Go at your own pace. Cry when you want, and don't be so tense around me. No one will hurt your pride here.
Since we're the only ones who know Mamiya, Mamiya would vanish the moment we look away.
Toma, once you get up to a point where you can talk about everything that's happened to you with a smile on your face, I'm sure you'll become stronger. Mamiya! Mamiya! Mamiya, no, Mamiya! We're the only ones who know of Mamiya. Mamiya doesn't exist in this world. We're mentally ill people detached from society. So, since we can't play along with society, we have no choice but to break it. Let's use our power and spread the word of Mamiya to many, many people.
Mamiya must become like the scales of a song everyone knows, like the laws of a country, like the big three needs of mankind. Our goal is to create a situation where Mamiya is known by everyone. Mamiya saved us, so it's now our turn to save those in need. And every time we do that, Mamiya will be remembered. With gentleness and a broad-mindedness, let's help others. Like a giant moon that sat above Tokyo Tower that night. Weird. So, what does that even mean? Why are they so fixated on Mamiya? Mamiya is nothing but an illusion that doesn't even exist in their world. The moment I muttered that, I felt a certain discomfort in my left arm. Huh? What the? My hand is itchy? Urged on by that peculiar sensation, I ended up taking off my glove. My hand, which had been protected by the glove all this time, suddenly had countless cuts on it. Huh? What's this? I checked my other hand too, and found it similarly covered in red lines. When did I get these wounds? I've always had my gloves on. I looked at my palm and saw a red line appear out of nowhere, making it look like I was being cut by something invisible. Huh? It began at the tip of my middle finger and then went down to the wrist. Ah! I could feel it. I could feel the lines forming under my clothes, on my elbows, my upper arms, and armpits. While still utterly befuddled by what had just occurred. Gah! I suddenly felt a sharp pain, as the kind you get from paper cut, flare up across my entire right arm. Ah! Hey, be careful not to dirty the books. My palms, as well as both my arms, are bleeding without end. I ran back to the librarian while still trying to stop the bleeding. Miss Librarian! Oh? What's the matter, Natsume? My arms are... What? Your arms? Huh? What is this red liquid? Is this the thing they call blood? It took you that long to realize? Blood. So this is... blood. Ugh. With a complexion as white as marble, the librarian looked intently at my injured arm. Do you have something I could use to stop the bleeding? Yes, we have to stop the bleeding. Unfortunately, there are no first aid kits around. These types of wounds never occur here, you see. Great. Not to worry, though. There's a hospital some distance away. I'll go there and get one. Thank you. And, I'm sorry. Oh, do not be concerning yourself with it. In any case, wait just a moment. I'll be back shortly. She grabbed her coat and bag before running off like the wind. Ah, that was blood. It was so red. Left alone, I looked up at the clouded ceiling. Surrounded by black books, this place was like the bottom of the sea. I looked at the spines and saw faint numbers on them. Some were familiar, while others looked more like complicated hieroglyphics. There wasn't a single story in here that I was in charge of. Their lives were utterly unremarkable when compared to the whole of mankind. Even so, through blood and sweat, they did the best to live their lives. And I had to make sure that their feelings were rewarded. After all, only I could save them. She mentioned a hospital. I wonder how far it really is. Are there really people outside this facility in personal rooms? There's only one building here, though. Man, I really am clueless, huh? I made a self-depreciated smile while looking at the direction of the librarian had disappeared to. I couldn't even touch any books until she returned. Greetings to you. Hello! I felt my shoulders tremble. This was the first time that anyone other than the librarian had addressed me. She wore the exact same uniform as her. In other words, there were other librarians and spectators around. And the one behind the door, had he ever worked here? Apologies for the wait. I brought some bandages, gauze, and antiseptic. You've no idea how much I appreciate this. Now, I'd like you to sit down and show me your arm. Are you sure about this? Absolutely. I've learned how to treat a bleeding wound. I did as told and presented my arm to her, after which she sat down next to me. This might sting a little. I can handle it. I must say, though, the strangest things seem to be happening to you. Normally, spectators never suffer injuries of any kind. The sense of astonishment in her tone was clear as day. Really? The world's people expected are, of course, another matter entirely, but when it comes to this place, there's nothing here that can hurt us. There might be some other cause. The way she touched me made me seem like she was already figured out everything I'd been doing. Her closed eyes made it difficult to read her thoughts. I felt cold sweat gather on me. You're certainly not a bore. What? People like you truly are a rarity. You got hurt, yet you remain fixated on a single story. What is our Lord thinking? I would prefer if you didn't have to deal with if I didn't have to deal with uncertain variables. Haha. You are precarious. She muttered that while putting the bandage on me. You're a bit like the person. Miss Librarian? There, all done. She pulled her hands away, leaving my arms covered in bandages. Wow, thank you so much. Don't mention it, but please make sure it doesn't happen again. In any case, I'll be returning to my post. She had vanished beyond the bookshelves before I could say anything in response. That person. Hey, you. What's with all the sighing in front of my door? So, do you know what she meant by that person? Huh? Never mind. Forget I even asked. Is there some kind of problem in the story again? No, it's got nothing to do with you. Am I imagining things, or are you treating me like kind of differently this time? By the way, why are you even here in the first place? Gotta ignore that, eh? Well, whatever. So what do you mean by here? Well, you know, the dark place behind the door. It's almost like you're locked away. Aren't you a spectator like me? Aren't you a spectator like me? There was a brief silence. I'm guessing this is me, honestly. What makes you think that? The advice you gave me in response to what I said about the story is far too precise. It didn't sound like mere conjecture. I sort of assumed you were talking from experience. Huh. Now, I'm not sure if I've been talking too much or if you've just become more perceptive. As your senior in this, I'm hoping it's the latter. He chuckled in a cheerful tone of his. The librarians told me not to approach this place, but I can't imagine you as someone who would be sinful in any way. Oh, but I am. This place may be separated from the flesh, but that doesn't just make it the sins etched on my one soul go away. I'm a problem child and a joker who broke the rules for fun. His tone beyond the door had become somewhat self-deriding. It felt as if he was using big words to avoid talking about a certain something. Could you tell me more? About your time as a spectator, I mean. Well, it's not much of a grand adventure, I assure you. I was young back then, and as people kept praising my ability, I turned complacent. So I came to believe I could use my powers to save a whole story, or at least a character. And this is the result. I'm locked up, all thanks by my hubris. I could almost see him shrug behind the door. I was, however, still maintaining a serious expression. His story was too much like mine. I'm not like ya. He said that as if he'd read my mind. Yours is a rare and tragic case of someone retaining his memories of a time he spent below. Hell, that's why you wanted to save your friends in the first place. And you know, that's all well and good. My case, on the other hand, is quite different. I saw hundreds of stories and countless characters, but I ended up feeling sympathy for only one. This person didn't even take up too many pages in the story. His tone was filled with deep affection. It sounded positively heartrending. Do you regret what you did? Do you regret breaking the rules and being caught for trying to save someone? No. His tone turned gentle. Well, my circumstances didn't really have anything to do with yours, so might as well go forget all about it. I can't just do that. I've learned many important things from you, and this is a story you hold dearly. It was an honor to hear it. You sure are stick in the mud. I know I can't begin to understand your story and the pain you experienced. Even so, I think I was right for you to act based on your own sense of justice. Please don't let it get to you. Why? Did I seem down to you? Yeah, a bit. Oh man, you're a pain to talk to. I know I've just told you all the stuff, but I'm actually about to be released. Huh? Apparently, the higher-ups are still fond of me, or I guess they just need more manpower. For a while, I'll be constantly observed and given a whole bunch of work, but this is par for the course, really. Does that mean you... Yeah, I just might get to see your face, newbie. Go produce some results before that happens, why don't you? I will. Whoa, this went for way too long. She warned you, didn't she? There won't be a second time. Get back. Okay, see you next time. He might actually be released. He seemed genuinely human. That was someone I respected, and he sacrificed everything for the sake of love. The fact that he would soon be freed made me happy it was happening to me. I smiled, feeling as though the world was moving in a wonderful direction. Oh boy, isn't that a Herald of Disaster? Alright, I'm gonna do my best. Ah, it's loud. Say, Mayor, is it true you don't have a boyfriend? Oh, it's true. I never heard anything like that. She's always away when we're talking about it. What a waste. Does she have a high standards or something? What about me then? Huh? Mayuri? Erika, this isn't what you told me. What do you mean? You didn't tell me there'd be men here. I didn't? Well, whatever. The more the merrier, you know. Well, is it your birthday party, so I guess it's fine if you're okay with it. Look, I'm sorry. I know you're not good with guys, but do try to enjoy yourself, okay? Mayuri smiled at the girl holding a paper cup in her hand. She wanted to be kind as Mamiya would have been to her. Okay, and happy birthday. I love you. Thanks, love you too. Mayuri, come here. Hey, get your hands off me. Shh, keep it down. Look, your dear Erika's here too. Huh? She's already having a good time, so here you go. Wouldn't want you missing out. Stop! Whoa, hey, you're spilling it over the floor. Oh man, where's the dustpan? Erika! Oh, she's already out of it, so don't expect a reaction. Huh? Erika? Man, I really didn't expect Mayuri to come to Erika's birthday. I've had my eye on you for a while, you know. Don't touch me! Oh wow, guess you really do hate guys, huh? You're a pretty freak or something? A lesbian, maybe? It's because you're nasty. Whatever you say. We'll see how long that feistiness of yours can last. Stop it! Whoa, she's even prettier up close. Mamiya! 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 Mamiya? Who's that, your boyfriend? Well, he sure ain't crap coming to help you. Help! Mamiya, you've always been there for me. Mamiya! Mamiya! God, you're annoying. It's your own fault for picking such a crappy boyfriend. No matter how much she struggled, she couldn't overpower a man. With this body, she would always end up losing to them. That sucks. Wow, this took a turn. Why, Mamiya? He said he'd always take my side. So why didn't you come to save me? She took a thorough shower and went to her room without even drying herself. The only thing she heard was the hum of the nearby radio. Let's move on to our next letter. It's from a pen name, Flashy Spectacles. I've been deep in my 20s, but I still can't find for the life of me get a boyfriend. Recently, though, I've been spending more time with my imaginary person. My parents kept nagging me about marriage, but I'm not interested. Did my best to be all beautiful for it. Even my colleagues have noticed the change. Every day I spend with him is wonderful. I really don't think there's anything wrong with a love like mine. What do you think? It's pretty impressive that you started to take care of your appearance for an imaginary guy, but at the end of the day, he's still just an illusion, right? Seeing how you've gone out of your way to pretty yourself up, why not try to find a real man and enjoy a normal everyday romance? I mean, hallucinations will never be able to hold you in his arms. By the way, I also enjoy fantasizing about what a perfect girl would be like. Wait, that makes me the same as her. Anyway, moving on. The radio got switched off mid-sentence. Droplets of water trickled down her still wet hair as the heavy silence hung over the room. Really? Within the darkness, she embraced her slender legs and began to tremble. Hallucination never be able to hold you in his arms? Yeah, Mamiya's just an illusion, nothing more. I'll admit that I'm just a mentally ill person who's seeing an illusion. But that illusion has given me so much. He's given me more than a person that actually exists. He had a huge impact on me. You've absolutely no right to make fun of him. None at all. You're all boring, mundane people. You've no right to mock Mamiya. Terrible. Fetch, man. Didn't think it was gonna get that dark. But even you. Arisugawa writing a story about Mamiya, though. I can't. Arisugawa, your lip's bleeding. Sorry, I just can't write my story. Huh? I'm utterly unable to convey Mamiya's qualities, charms, humor, or knowledge. Why? Why can't you do it? Don't give up, Arisugawa. If you can't do it, then we... Do it! Come on! Just do it! Write your story already! Why can't you just do it? Nigaki. Why? So it seems that not a single one of us was able to feel it. We couldn't overcome society. We lost. All we did was realize how utterly weak we've been. Just the act of living is making my heart wear out. It's always been like this. This world is so hard to live in. The only reason I managed to get by was because Mamiya was there. No matter how many memories we share, none of you are Mamiya. There's no point in anything if Mamiya is no longer around. Why? If Mamiya had no shape, that means she could stay around without her ever dying. Why aren't you here, Mamiya? Why didn't you take me with you? A world without you has no meaning whatsoever. Why? This is just a lot to endure. After an afternoon moon above was so much fainter at that night. Oh. Mamiya is so far away. Their disappointment had turned to fatigue, and soon enough, they no longer had the will to muster up any more courage again. Mamiya. I'm back. Well, what? You visited Mamiya's grave. Yeah, what of it? Nigaki. You know there's nothing in that forest, right? The mound there? Sure, it's marked, but there's nothing actually buried underneath. Are you going to act like Mamiya's dead? We won't learn anything if you keep silent, Betty. Shut up! All of you, shut up! This doesn't really concern you, now does it? Samejima? It shouldn't matter to you whether she goes or what she thinks of the forest. Really? But Samejima, it does actually matter. All four of us are linked to Mamiya through our feelings. If that's not the reason enough for us to care, I don't know what is. You're the one who reminded us about the purpose of this house. Or what? Are you going to tell us how your Mamiya differs from ours? It's fine. Nigaki. Samejima, you've done enough. Yeah. You're right. Her shadow flickered. Her beautiful face became warped. You want to know the story between me and Mamiya? Huh. All right, I'll tell you. This is what you've been wanting to know, right? You filthy men. I'll fulfill your wish. Oh boy. Welcome back, Mayuri. Yeah. I'm home, Mom. I was born beautiful. That fact is extremely important in the story between me and Mamiya. There were girls who thought themselves pretty and wanted to be idols despite not looking all that great. However, I knew that I was above them all. I was a genuinely beautiful girl. This objective truth has been drilled into me ever since I was little. My parents did that too, especially my mother. She had always treated me like a doll. You're such a wonderful girl, Mayuri. I'm so happy to have you. She would often brush my hair while I sat on her warm lap. I inherited my wavy hair from her, and she didn't even allow me to cut it. I keep drifting into my own voice. My only source of joy in life came from the stories she read me after thoroughly brushing my hair. We both wore princess-like nightgowns and lay in fancy bed. Read Mototoro for me. Again? For we have Thumbelina and the Little Mermaid, too. I want Momotaro. You must really love that story. I'll buy you some peaches next time. We'll eat them together. She then began reading the story in that gentle, soothing voice of hers. A long, long time ago, in a land far, far away, there was an old man and an old lady. My father was a company employed who could hardly be labeled handsome. It seemed as though he'd fallen in love with and married my mother purely for her looks. She didn't appear to mind, though. She was simply happy that her beautiful young daughter, born to a similarly gorgeous mother, would be turning more and more beautiful as time went on. I dressed like a doll and never played outside. That was my rule. After entering kindergarten, I gradually realized that people were reacting differently to me. Everyone would be turning their heads to me, especially the adults. They stared at me in shock and smiled when our eyes met. At first, I'd taken it for granted. I believed that everyone in this world was allowed to indulge in such happiness. However, I was gravely mistaken. My looks, my beauty, they were talents only a select few possessed. I was praised every time I passed someone, and was appraised on the regular. This fate, this discrepancy, it had to have been there since I was born. I don't want to... Stop! Shut up. Leave me alone. Stop it! In a desolate corner of the old high school building, I was assaulted by several male students, but no matter how hard I tried to resist, their bodies would simply not budge. When I tried to raise my voice, they covered my mouth with their hands. Shut up, dang it. Don't effing move. How many times had this happened? How many times was I forced to curse my own lack of strength? Or my beauty? Before I knew it, my vision had turned blurry with tears. Actually, no, that was only a reaction to not being able to properly breathe. I wasn't frustrated. I wasn't broken. If I'd allowed them to break even my spirit, I would have been unable to maintain myself. Even as my consciousness began to fade, I continued to struggle. Suddenly, a large shadow appeared from the corner, accompanied by footsteps. Crap, it's a teacher! Let's make a run for it! The moment they said that, the men let me go and ran to the other direction. With my mouth finally freed, I filled my lungs with air. The tall shadow approached me as I continued hyperventilating. Hey. Hey, are you... Don't look at me! Don't look! Stay away! Stay away! I cried out with every last ounce of strength I still had left in my body. This was so embarrassing. He was a man before he was a teacher, so he obviously pretended to care while he actually stared at my body. I knew this well by now. Male teachers were often inconsiderate and only pretended to care about how students felt. Put this on. He placed a lab coat on my lap. Dumbfounded, I turned around. The man stood there while looking away from me. Go away! I'm telling you to go away! In a rush of emotion, I shouted at him to get away from me. They might return, so I gotta stay here. The strength of that voice made me fall silent. Fix your clothes. I'll take you to the nurse's office. Oh, interesting. I won't look at you. I won't hurt your pride. While still looking away from me, the man carefully led me to the nurse's office on the first floor. Seems like you're mostly okay. There are only some minor bruises, and it doesn't look like they'll leave any mark either. You must have been so scared. Could you recognize the person who did this? Do you know their names, perhaps? I shook my head. I see. At any rate, do come to me if you need anything. You might occasionally occasionally remember what happened today, and it'll be painful, but don't hesitate to relay to me if you need someone to listen. I'll be off now. After closing the door, I bit my lip in chagrin. What nonsense. The doctor wasn't there to help when I actually needed it. That was just talk. You hungry? Huh? I looked towards the source of that voice. It was the man from before. You're still here? You look like Ohagi. I think you like Ohagi? I think they're great. I don't need your pity, if that's what this is supposed to be. Rumble. You like Ohagi? I don't mind them. The man opened the door to the second science classroom and invited me in. Probably out of consideration for me, he kept the door open as he began boiling water. There we go, Ohagi. Can't have Japanese streets like this without green tea. I like how we're listening to the Dance of the Sugar Plum Berries. Science teachers actually use alcohol lamps to boil. He gave me a rather old-fashioned cup. The tea inside was cheap, but it warmed me up. We continued to eat the ohagi. That's ohagi, right? With the sail seam on them. He probably had lots of questions for me, but remained silent, probably to allow me to process things. What's your name? Huh? What? This guy. Was he really that into his ohagi? I was a little annoyed by that, but I realized I had to be nicer to the person who had literally just saved me, so I cleared my throat and spoke up again. May I ask your name? My name? I don't believe we've met before. Oh, right. I don't teach second year, so that would explain it. I'm Mamiya. I teach chemistry. Mamiya. You're just gonna repeat it like that? His shoulders dropped, and I couldn't help but smile. I know your name, though, Nigaki Mayuri, from Class 2D. How do you know that? You're famous, even among teachers, you know? Imagining them talking about me made me feel unpleasant. They say you're bad at memorization. Your chemistry scores are particularly awful. What? I looked at him in shock. He gave me a wide grin with some red bean paste from the ohagi sticking out of his mouth. Make sure to study when you go home, okay? I didn't hear your answer. Yes, sir, I will. I answered him, albeit reluctantly. Mamiya nodded in satisfaction. All eyes were glued to me when I opened the door to the classroom. Look, it's Mayuri. She's so cute. Let's go talk to her. She'll probably just ignore us. Man, her such are huge. I wonder what cup they are. She's got such a great body. I could totally see her as a Grov model. I wouldn't even be surprised to see her in some magazine. Stop that, you dummy. I did feel like I stood out in class. I swore to stop trying to make friends all the way back in middle school. I had no male or female friends. All I did was silently listen to my teachers. I never once felt lonely, though. And besides, this was much easier than having to deal with the frequent clashes that came with the human interaction. As classes went on, I had nothing but that teacher on my mind. Mamiya, that spectacled, unreliable-looking teacher. Thankfully, even if I didn't pay attention during classes, I was beautiful enough to get away with it. He said he was a chemistry teacher. How did he teach? What was his writing like? Did he help other students like he helped me? He was a strange teacher. All right, that should be good. Some time after the bell rang, I stuck my head out of the girls' bathroom. The hallways were wrapped in pleasant silence while the students in the other classes were being taught. We had gym for 5th period. I didn't want to go, so I hid in the bathroom and waited. Where should I go? The garden, maybe? As I wandered around the hallway, I saw a tall silhouette ahead. Huh. That haircut, that lab coat. I squinted and started observing him. But then he went and dropped an obscene amount of files he was carrying. Oh, man. Why did you have to pick up so many of them? Why did you have to pick up so many of them? I crouched down and helped Mamiya pick up the files. I thought it would go well this time. Seriously? Jeez. Alright, that's everything. Thanks for the help. Don't mention it. So, Nigaki Mayuri, what exactly are you doing out here? Shouldn't you be in class? His weekly aura suddenly vanished, and he looked at me with a sharp gleam in his eyes. Oh, sorry, her name. I was on my way to, the nurse's office. That's in the other direction, though. Well, I just came down the stairway and saw you dropping those files, so I figured I'd help out. My desperate attempts at coming up with an excuse made Mamiya chuckle. I was initially shocked, but then immediately realized what a dumb, embarrassing thing I'd just said. Anyway, could you help me carry this to the science room? Sure. So, how are you holding up? Fine. I only got a few minor bruises, but that's about it. I see. I'll talk to the others and try and make sure something like that never happens again. Will you now? I didn't expect much from the teachers. Whenever they said something like that, it was usually nothing more than empty talk. I don't have any friends. And besides, I only come to school because I've nothing better to do. He ignored my mutter and looked at the TV. I wonder who's gonna win. He was watching a baseball match while smacking on dry fish. What a hopeless teacher. I glared at him with all the disgust I could muster. Then commercials began, and one of them captured my attention. Oh, I know this. It's a card game that got an anime. It was the one with transforming cards that battled each other.
Transforming cars. Wait, did Transformers have a card game?
Different cars had different compatibility with each other, and the various transformations made it really popular with the boys.
If it's getting commercials now, that means it's still popular, right?
Oh, I see. Ah, I have that one.
The card for the car?
Yeah, there were some cards thrown into a bush on a park. I picked up the ones I liked. I see. So it's still being used. Might actually be a popular card.
Have you never played the card game itself?
No. You need to have a lot of cards to play. Just a few won't do. I asked my mom to buy some for me while we were shopping, but she insisted that we get tarot cards instead. That's fine, though. I don't have anyone to play against, and tarot fortune telling is fun in its own right.
I don't have these cards either, but I think I can play with normal playing cards just fine. Want to try?
Well, if you insist, then sure.
Interesting. I think we're going to end here. We're going for a while, but now we're getting some real look into it. But man, why? I picked a dark path, didn't I? Fetch! Oh, man. What's sad is that, like, cases like this where people will face, like, physical abuse won't report it. Either because they feel like they won't be believed. There are more guys who get abused than are reported because there's, like, the stigma of, like, not appearing weak. But even for girls, like, I think, like, feeling like there's nobody who can trust or who will believe you, or when you do report things, it's not taken seriously. That's got to be the most insane thing ever, right? The cruel world we live in where people feel like they can just take things because it's there. But yeah, we'll have to see how this plays out. Interesting to see Mamiya here, though, right? I wonder. I really am starting to think I figured it out that what Natsumi's doing is what effectively Mamiya's did. Like, Mamiya inserted himself to try and save somebody because maybe he saw Nigaki's fate. Maybe she dies right there instead. Like, when he intervenes there, maybe, like, Nigaki actually was killed. So maybe that's a part of it. Or maybe she is going to be killed and he's trying to save her. Because that would make him a lot like Natsumi. So then why does he suddenly do such crazy, like, trying to convince people to, like, find peace in oblivion, you know? It's weird. So I'm curious to see how this all plays out. But thank you guys so much for being here today. Appreciate you spending your time here. Oh, that's a heavy episode. So yeah, I don't know if there's much I want to say to wrap this up other than the fact that, like, be aware. Crappy things happen to people. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't assume that because people have a lot going for them that their life's easy. And just remember that, you know, it's innocent until proven guilty, but hardship should be, like, believed until proven otherwise. Because imagine the pain that's caused by people who are told, oh, you're just being dramatic, or it wasn't that bad, or, like, are you sure it was like that? Like, I can't even imagine. Anyway, but this heavy topic aside, thank you so much for spending your time with me. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully we'll get to spend some more time exploring the story together and being able to kind of see how Mamiya continues to interfere here, because I think that's the key. Thank you so much for watching the video. For any likes and comments that you leave, it means the world to me, and it really helps the channel out in a lot of important ways, and especially to the patrons who are making sure to support the channel constantly. Like, it means so much to me to do that. Like, you don't even know. You guys and gals are the best. I don't deserve you. But thank you so much. I appreciate every moment you're here with me. I look forward to making more content with you. So until the next video watching me, I've seen me in next. I'll see you there.